Hello everyone. In this video I will discuss one of the films called The Creator, and never forget that I always pray for you and your family to be happy and healthy always. In the advancing era of human civilization, mankind eventually succeeds in creating highly advanced artificial intelligence robots known as simulants, or the Sim. These robots quickly become part of daily life. To make them appear more human-like, some people voluntarily scan their own faces to be applied to certain robots. Over time, the Sim not only serve as workers but also become companions, followers of religions, and even enforcers of the law. However, one day in the year 2055, a government-created Sim inadvertently triggers a nuclear bomb explosion in the city of Los Angeles. This tragedy claims the lives of nearly 1 million people, leading the Western world to unite and decide to ban and destroy all existing simulants. However, the newly formed Asian continent, now known as the New Asian Union, continues to support and grant equal citizenship to the Sim. This action prompts the United States to launch an attack on the New Asian Union in an effort to eradicate all simulants from the face of the Earth. Their primary weapon in this campaign is the USS Nomad, a massive space station orbiting the Earth, designed to scan for signs of simulants' existence and swiftly eliminate them. Additionally, the crucial objective of this military force is to locate an individual named Nirmata, who is strongly suspected of being the leader and scientist behind the advancements in AI technology. 10 years after the Western aggression began, a group of American soldiers emerges on a beach in the New Asian Union, while Nomad scans the area from the sky. Not far from the location, a man named Joshua and his pregnant wife Maya reside. Maya bears a special tattoo on her body. While they are being intimate, they suddenly hear a commotion from outside, prompting Joshua to activate his robotic limbs to investigate the situation. A group of Guardian simulants, led by Harun, captures an American soldier named Drew, who had intentionally infiltrated their territory. The simulants continue to assault him, trying to force him to reveal his mission, but Drew remains silent, refusing to utter a single word. As Nomad draws closer, the group decides to prepare a makeshift boat to escape and find a new hiding place. When Joshua is alone with Drew, he reprimands him for not giving him more time. This inadvertently reveals that Joshua is actually a part of the American military on an undercover mission and married Maya because she is the daughter of Nirmata. During a firefight between the simulants and the military, Joshua takes Drew's radio to request the commander cease the attack, explaining that Nirmata is not present. Maya accidentally overhears this conversation and becomes furious upon realizing that Joshua didn't truly leave the American military as he promised. Maya then flees towards the boat to join the simulants, but at that moment, Nomad launches a missile that instantly kills them all. 5 years after those events, Joshua returns to the United States and tries to adapt to civilian life. He heavily relies on medication for his PTSD and regularly sees a therapist who uses a lie detector to ensure Joshua is not hiding any information. Currently, Joshua works at Ground Zero as part of the cleanup crew, responsible for collecting the hunted simulants and mass destroying them. When he arrives home, Joshua watches an old video recording, reminiscing about the moment Maya helped him install his prosthetic limbs. It is known that Joshua lost his hands and legs as a result of the nuclear explosion in Los Angeles, which also claimed the lives of his entire family. Shortly after, Joshua is visited by 2 military high-ranking officials named General Andrew and Colonel Howell, who ask him to undertake a mission. They have discovered that Nirmata is developing a superweapon that has the potential to destroy the USS Nomad, and it is certain that the Western world will face defeat if that technology is not destroyed. Joshua is the only person who knows the location of the laboratory, so he's asked to lead the military team to destroy the weapon as soon as possible. Initially, Joshua refuses, as they wouldn't be in this situation if America hadn't launched missiles off the coast of the New Asian Union 5 years ago. Besides disrupting his cover, he also lost his wife and unborn child in the process. However, Joshua quickly changes his mind after Howell shows him a hologram video revealing that Maya is actually alive and working on the superweapon project. That very night, Joshua and several military members quickly flew to the New Asian Union and landed in an area previously scanned by Nomad. There, Joshua realizes that the area above the laboratory has now been transformed into a squalid village inhabited by many residents. With no other choice, the military decides to storm the villagers and begin interrogating them about the entrance to the laboratory. A military member named McBride threatens to shoot a local resident's dog, causing a little girl, the dog's owner, to cry and point her hand towards an altar. McBride, along with Brad, stands guard outside to intercept the incoming police, while Joshua leads the remaining troops to enter and kill some scientists inside. It doesn't take long for the team to penetrate deeper into the laboratory and find a suspicious safe suspected of storing the weapons. At that moment, numerous guards arrive, prompting all the military personnel to rush to engage in combat, while Joshua remains at the entrance until the hacking process is completed. When the door opens and Joshua enters, he is immediately surprised by the presence of a simulant in the form of a young child whom he has never seen before. Suddenly, a scientist appears from behind and shoots Joshua. The scientist then opens an emergency door and orders the child to go find Nimata. Joshua, still alive, quickly chases after the child while continuing to search for Maya among the running scientists amidst the ongoing battle. Meanwhile, the remaining American military personnel, who are losing the war, rush back to their aircraft as Nomad is about to detonate the area. However, they are too late to realize that one of their members has been implanted with a bomb by the simulants. As a result, the aircraft crashes and explodes just before Nomad launches its missile. Joshua, who is still left behind, can only run as far as possible to save himself. The next morning, Joshua wakes up on a boat and is immediately startled by the appearance of simulant children who continue to watch him. Ignoring the presence of the child, Joshua investigates the area and finds one of the military members named Shipley, who is injured. He quickly takes the man to an empty house to avoid the police patrols sweeping the area. However, they are soon surprised by the reappearance of the previous child who continues to follow Joshua and is now watching television. Joshua promptly turns off the TV, but the child can turn it back on simply by making a hand gesture. This action makes Joshua realize that these childlike simulants are the superweapons created by Nimata. At that moment, Joshua receives a call from Howell through the communicator in the room. After describing the child he encountered, Joshua is ordered by Howell to immediately kill the child. However, their communication is abruptly cut off as Howell's presence is discovered by the police. Howell is then thrown into a van along with McBride, who had been captured earlier. On the other side, Joshua, who was preparing to carry out Howell's orders, immediately stops his actions when he notices that the child is drawing something that closely resembles Maya's tattoo. At the same time, a simulant farmer suddenly appears, pointing his gun at Joshua. The farmer approaches the simulant children he calls Alfie, and through a language translator device, Joshua hears that the farmer intends to kill him. Acting quickly, Joshua shoots the farmer first. After searching the farmer's body and finding car keys, Joshua receives information from Alfie that he can find Maya in a place called Dian Dang. Meanwhile, due to the gunfire caused by Joshua earlier, the police begin to arrive and storm the location. This forces Joshua to take Shipley and Alfie into the farmer's car in an attempt to escape. The police throw a grenade inside, but it is picked up by a dog and returned to them. Alfie also uses her abilities to start the car, giving Joshua a chance to flee. On the other side, Howell and McBride work together to attack the guarding police and take control of a vehicle, which they use to search for Joshua. At this moment, Joshua himself is halted in an area because his vehicle has run out of fuel. Shipley, who is severely wounded, asks Joshua to return to the military base, but ultimately succumbs to his injuries due to blood loss. As a nearby vehicle approaches, Joshua quickly puts a hat on Alfie's head to conceal his identity as a simulant. He and Alfie then hitch a ride in the stopping vehicle to head to the nearest town. A while later, McBride and Howell discover Joshua's car with Shipley's body still inside. Howell uses a special device to transfer Shipley's consciousness into the body of a simulant police officer for 30 seconds to find out where Joshua went. That night, the car carrying Joshua arrives at the city border and is stopped by guards who are searching for him and Alfie. Realizing the situation, Alfie uses her abilities to disable the electricity in the area and restart the car, allowing them to successfully escape and enter the city. Their escape is broadcasted over the police radio, alerting Howell and McBride to their whereabouts. Upon reaching the city, Joshua tries to ask Alfie about the location of Deanne Dang, but Alfie doesn't answer the question, and instead questions whether Joshua is her friend. As the police start appearing, Joshua takes Alfie to flee into a bus. Joshua also briefly sees several women who resemble Maya, but he quickly realizes that they are just simulants who have received facial donations from his wife. During the journey, Joshua recalls the day when Drew gave him the mission to marry Maya in order to gather information about Nirmata. Drew also gave him a wedding ring equipped with a special tracking device inside it. In summary, as they arrive in another city, Joshua quickly notices their wanted posters displayed on screens throughout the city. This forces Joshua to immediately take Alfie to a simulant manufacturing factory, which surprisingly turns out to be where Drew currently works. It is revealed that after the night of the attack 5 years ago, Drew had a different perspective on the Sims and now strongly believes in AI to the extent that he is dating a simulant named Kami. Joshua asks Drew to obtain Maya's location from Alfie's head, but Drew asserts that the child has encrypted access codes that are difficult to crack. Alfie's appearance also surprises Drew, as he has never seen a childlike simulant before. When Joshua asks if he can track Maya's location through his wedding ring, Drew immediately claims that Maya is actually deceased. However, Joshua refuses to believe this claim, as the hologram video shown by Howell clearly indicated that Maya is still alive. While Kami hides Alfie in her apartment, Drew informs Joshua about the results of his investigation, revealing that Alfie is significantly different from typical simulants. Alfie has the ability to continuously evolve, although currently its range of power is limited. Over time, Alfie's abilities will continue to develop until it reaches a point where it can remotely control all technology. Meanwhile, Alfie informs Kami that someone has come to pick her up. When they check outside the door, it turns out to be a courier delivering an ice cream order for Kami. However, as soon as the door is closed, it is revealed that the food delivery person is actually a simulant police officer, and the package given to Kami contains a bomb. The police quickly enter the apartment, attempting to persuade Alfie to go with them. Fortunately, at that moment, Joshua arrives and swiftly eliminates all the police officers, while Alfie is engrossed in watching TV. Realizing that more police assistance is on its way, Joshua promptly takes Alfie and forcefully urges a grieving Drew, who is mourning Kami's death, to escape with them. Unexpectedly, 2 of the incoming police officers turn out to be Howell and McBride in disguise. They quickly dispatch the simulant police before hacking into Kami's head to gather information about Joshua's whereabouts. On the other side, Drew, along with Joshua, successfully traces the location of Maya's wedding ring, which is detected to be in Joshua's old house. However, upon arrival, Joshua only finds the ring lying on a waterlogged floor. While Joshua is reviewing the recordings from the attack years ago, Alfie approaches him, intending to warn him about the military's arrival. However, caught up in emotions, Joshua reacts angrily and shouts at the child. Unexpectedly, this action makes Alfie cry, and realizing how remarkably human-like the robot appears, Joshua apologizes and embraces the child. With this, Drew arrives to warn them of an impending attack, but before he can finish his sentence, he is shot from behind. Before dying, Drew reveals to Joshua that Nirmata is actually Maya. That's why they launched a direct attack 5 years ago, without first warning Joshua, because they feared his love for Nirmata would make him defect from the American government. Afterward, Joshua attempts to escape with Alfie, but they are surrounded by Harun's forces, and Joshua is subdued. The next day, Joshua wakes up in a prison cell inside a ship. Harun comes to meet him and begins to explain several things. He reveals that Maya's real father was the original Nirmata, but after his death, Maya assumed the name Nirmata and created Alfie to stop Nomad. The nuclear explosion that occurred in Los Angeles 15 years ago was actually caused by a programming error by humans themselves, who then blamed AI for the incident. Even if the Sims were to win this war, they have no intention of doing anything to harm the Western world. Essentially, they just want to live in peace. Harun considers killing Joshua, but he's interrupted by a loud noise from outside, caused by Nomad detonating the headquarters they were heading to. At that moment, Alfie quietly approaches Joshua's cell to question whether he intends to harm Maya, whom Alfie refers to as her mother. Joshua firmly denies the accusation and convinces Alfie to help him escape so he can continue his search for Maya. Harun becomes aware of Joshua's escape, but when Joshua jumps into the water, Harun decides to let him go and proceeds to the main headquarters. In short, when they arrived at the base, Joshua, who was unknowingly hiding under the ship, began to sneak into the settlement and saw clearly how humans and the Sims could live in harmony. Not only do humans mourn the death of a Sim, but the children there are also taught how to peacefully coexist. That night, while Harun is sleeping, Joshua quietly approaches him and presses a button on Harun's head, rendering him defenseless. With Harun incapacitated, Joshua can easily take Alfie and escape using a boat. However, simultaneously, an emergency alarm suddenly sounds, detecting an incoming attack. The Sims, including Harun, quickly wake up and realize that Alfie has disappeared. Unfortunately, they cannot immediately initiate a search because the American military has arrived, deploying gigantic combat tanks that swiftly obliterate their headquarters. Realizing that the military has come to find Alfie, Alfie decides to leave Joshua behind to assist the Sims. Meanwhile, Howl, who is inside one of the tanks, begins deploying several explosive robots, resulting in more casualties among the Sims. When the second explosive robot is sent, Alfie intercepts it on the bridge and uses its abilities to stop the robot. Realizing that the robot suddenly malfunctioned, Howl sends McBride, who quickly opens fire at Alfie. Witnessing this, Joshua becomes furious and reluctantly shoots McBride. As a result, Alfie, who is unconscious, causes the second explosive robot to reactivate and start a countdown for detonation. Fortunately, Joshua swiftly carries Alfie's body to escape the blast radius. Harun, realizing that Joshua had no intention of harming Alfie, has a change of heart and agrees to take Joshua to meet Namata and repair Alfie. In the ongoing war, they both bring Alfie aboard a ship and quickly depart from the area. During the journey, Harun reveals a surprising fact to Joshua. It turns out that Alfie was created by Maya using an embryo inside her womb, indirectly revealing that Alfie is a replica of Joshua's own biological child. Upon their arrival at their destination, Alfie is immediately taken over by several monks and brought to a special temple. Joshua then asks if this place is Dayandang, and the monk explains that the term means heaven, indirectly revealing that Maya has actually passed away. Devastated by this revelation, Joshua enters the temple and finds Alfie, who has recovered and is resting beside Maya's body, connected to a machine. Another monk explains that Maya has been in that state for the past 5 years, but she is not truly alive as the machine only keeps her body functioning. The Sims are not allowed to harm Namata, so now the decision lies with Joshua whether he wants Maya to remain in that state or choose to deactivate the machine connected to her body. In the end, filled with remorse for everything that has happened, Joshua apologizes and proceeds to deactivate the machine. At the same time, the American military arrives at the scene and initiates an attack. Howl enters the temple, pointing her gun at Joshua while attempting to download Maya's consciousness into a chip. Harun also emerges and immediately shoots Howl using an adhesive bomb. This action prompts a response from 2 American soldiers who quickly open fire at Harun. Shortly thereafter, the adhesive bomb on Howl's body explodes, instantly killing Howl and his 2 soldiers in the process. Harun, who managed to survive, then asks Joshua to take Alfie and destroy Nomad as quickly as possible. Joshua also takes Maya's consciousness before leaving the temple with Alfie. Unfortunately, in the midst of their escape, they are captured by the American military, who separate them just before Nomad detonates the area. Joshua is taken to a headquarters in Los Angeles, where General Andrew forces him to immediately kill Alfie because they cannot extract any information from the child if she remains alive. The reason Joshua must take this action is because America knows that Alfie is a replica of Joshua's own biological child, so allowing Joshua to kill his own child is seen as a more honorable approach than the military's brutal methods. Reluctantly, Joshua approaches Alfie and whispers something before ultimately shooting her with an EMP weapon, instantly deactivating Alfie. Afterward, Joshua is instructed to take Alfie to Ground Zero for destruction. However, during their journey, it is revealed that Alfie is actually still alive, and the whisper Joshua shared with her was a request for Alfie to enter a non-active mode to deceive the military. Following Joshua's orders, Alfie uses her abilities to cause the vehicle they are in to crash and block the road from the pursuing vehicles. They both run towards the space station, where Alfie once again uses her powers to make the aircraft they board lose contact with the military headquarters and head towards the USS Nomad. Upon reaching the docking area, all civilian residents are immediately disembarked, and the military forces attempt to enter the aircraft. However, Joshua acts quickly by opening the airlock, causing all the military personnel to be thrown out. General Andrew, witnessing Joshua preparing explosives, responds by ordering a massive attack on all the sim bases in New Asia. When Joshua sees the missiles, he swiftly hands the Maya chip to Alfie and instructs him to stop the attack, while Joshua himself proceeds to plant explosives inside Nomad. Alfie runs through several corridors until she reaches the appropriate room to use her powers to halt the attack, although a few missiles are launched before he can stop them. As Alfie attempts to return to Joshua, she takes the wrong corridor and accidentally discovers a room filled with the Sims, one of whom bears a resemblance to Maya. Alfie then inserts the Maya consciousness chip and leaves the Sim in the midst of a plantation. Meanwhile, Joshua's protective suit begins to run out of oxygen, but fortunately, Alfie appears at the right moment to take him to a room with breathable air and prepares an escape pod. Enraged by these actions, General Andrew orders his subordinates to attack Alfie using an octopus-shaped robot. Witnessing this, Joshua quickly closes the escape pod to save Alfie, while he himself fights against the robot. Unfortunately, due to this turn of events, the escape pod's door becomes damaged, along with the bomb that Joshua had previously set, initiating a countdown to explosion. With little time left, Joshua releases the escape pod from Nomad and tells Alfie that they will meet again in heaven. As Joshua awaits the end of his story, he is suddenly surprised by the appearance of the Sim Maya, and they embrace each other just as Nomad finally explodes. As a result, the missiles launched towards the Sim settlement fail to detonate and simply crash to the ground. Meanwhile, Alfie's escape pod lands safely, and he joins the other Sims to celebrate the destruction of Nomad while continuously shouting Namata's name. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.